I still see her blood on my hands some nights. I'm 42, Jack Ramsey, been a bodyguard for 15 years, ex-Marine, thought I'd seen it all. But that night, 3 years ago, when Mia got hit, it cracked something in me I can't fix. She was 24, this bright, tech heiress with a laugh that made you forget the job. I was supposed to keep her safe. I didn't. Here's what happened, raw and unfiltered, because I need to get this out. It was a Thursday, late, outside a club in Miami. Mia was my client, had been for 6 months. She was sweet, naive, trusted everyone. I was on edge, crowds always made me twitchy. My job was simple: scan the room, check exits, keep her close. That night she was with her usual crew, rich kids and hangers-on. I didn't like them, but I kept my mouth shut. My gut was screaming though. Something felt off. I should have listened. The attack came fast. Black SUV, tinted windows, no plates. 2 guys, masks, guns. They didn't want money. They went straight for Mia. I got her down, took a graze on my arm, but one of them got a knife in her side before I could tackle him. She screamed my name, Jack, help, and I froze for a split second. That's all it took. They were gone, and she was bleeding out on the pavement. I held her, yelling for an ambulance, my hands slick with her blood. She lived, barely, but she's never been the same. Neither have I. I replayed that night like a bad movie. Could I have moved faster? Seen the car sooner? I was trained for this, damn it. I'm not some rookie. I've guarded CEOs, politicians, you name it. But Mia's face, pale and scared, it's burned into me. The agency, Elite Security, said it was a random hit, wrong place, wrong time. I bought it at first. But there's this thing nagging at me, this twist I can't shake. The attackers knew her schedule. They knew exactly when she'd be there. Someone tipped them off. Maybe someone I work with. I haven't told anyone this. Not my boss, Claire, who'd tell me to shut up and move on. Not my sister, Lila, who I barely talk to anymore. I'm paranoid now. I check my locks 3 times a night, scan every car on the street. I'm still working, still guarding, but it's different. I don't trust my team, not fully. Derek, my partner, he's too smooth, always got an answer. I keep wondering if he's hiding something. Looking back, I should have questioned more, pushed harder. But I didn't. I was scared of looking weak, of admitting I failed. I still am. I'm spilling this here because I can't carry it alone anymore. I'm not sure who I'm protecting anymore, my clients or myself. Looking back, I used to love this job. Bodyguarding wasn't just a paycheck, it felt like a calling. I'd walk into a room, scan every face, every exit, and know I was the one thing standing between my client and chaos. That control, that purpose, it was everything. Before Mia's attack, I thought I had it all figured out. Here's how it was, back when I still believed in the gig. I'd been with Elite Security for a decade. They paired me with high-profile clients, CEOs, actors, the occasional diplomat. My days were routine but sharp: wake at 5 a.m., gym, coffee black, then briefings. I'd get the client's schedule, map routes, check venues. I was a ghost, always there, never noticed. Mia was different, though. She was my favorite client. Young, maybe too trusting, but real. She'd joke with me, ask about my day, like I wasn't just hired muscle. "Jack, you ever smile?" She'd tease, and I'd grunt, but it felt good. Her crew, though, those rich kids she ran with, I didn't trust them. Too many fake smiles, too much coke in the bathroom. I kept my distance, stayed professional. My partner, Derek, was my backup. He was 35 then, cocky but solid. We'd work shifts, cover each other's blind spots. He'd talk up clients, charm them, while I stayed quiet, watching. Claire, our boss, ran the show like a drill sergeant. She'd hand me assignments, no nonsense. "Ramsey, don't screw this up." I never did. I prided myself on that. No incidents, no complaints. I thought I was untouchable. But there were cracks, even then. I'd catch whispers, clients cutting shady deals, guards looking the other way. One time, I saw a guy slip Derek an envelope after a job. "Just a tip," Derek said, laughing it off. I let it slide. Didn't want to rock the boat. My sister, Lila, used to call me out on it. "You're not a robot, Jack," she'd say when I dodged her calls. We were close once, but the job ate my time. I told myself I'd fix things with her later. Always later. I ignored the red flags because the job felt good. The adrenaline, the trust clients put in me, it was a high. I'd walk Mia through crowds, my hand near her elbow, eyes everywhere. I thought I had control, that I could handle anything. But looking back, I was blind. I didn't see the real threats, the ones not holding guns. I didn't question why Mia's crew knew her moves too well, or why Derek was always so quick to dismiss my gut. I thought I was on top. I wasn't. I was just a guy who didn't know how much he didn't know. After the ambulance took Mia, I was a mess. Blood on my shirt, my arm stinging from the graze. I stood there in the ER waiting room, replaying it all. I kept seeing that split second I froze, her screaming my name, the knife flashing. I should have been faster. The cops questioned me, standard stuff, but their eyes said it, "You screwed up, Ramsey." They didn't need to say it out loud. I felt it. Claire, my boss at Elite Security, showed up at the hospital, all business. "You okay?" she asked, but it was cold, like she was checking a box. I nodded, lied, said I was fine. She told me to write a report, keep it clean, and not talk to anyone. "Random attack?" she said. "Don't overthink it." But I couldn't stop thinking. The attackers knew too much, where Mia would be, when she'd leave. I started asking questions. I cornered Derek the next day at the agency office. "You see anything weird that night?" I asked, watching his face. He shrugged, too casual. "Just bad luck, man. Wrong place, wrong time." His eyes didn't meet mine. I pressed him about Mia's crew, those rich kids always around her. He got defensive, said I was reaching. "Let it go, Jack. You're not a detective." That's dumb. I wasn't trying to play hero, I just wanted answers. The agency moved me to desk duty while they investigated. Felt like punishment. I'd sit there, staring at paperwork, my mind stuck on Mia in that hospital bed, tubes everywhere. I visited her once, slipped in when her family wasn't around. She was awake, barely, her eyes dull. "You did your best, Jack," she whispered. I wanted to believe her, but it felt like pity. I mumbled something and left, my chest tight. I started doubting myself, my instincts, my training. Was I too old? Too slow? I'd been so sure I could handle anything, but now I wasn't. The worst part? Nobody else seemed to care. Claire told me to drop it, focus on the next job. Derek kept acting like nothing happened. I even tried talking to Lila, my sister, over the phone. "You can't save everyone," she said, her voice soft but distant. She was right, but it didn't help. I was drowning in questions with no answers, and the more I pushed, the more alone I felt. Looking back, that was when I started to see the cracks, not just in me, but in the whole damn system I thought I could trust. I wanted to believe it wasn't on me. After Mia got stabbed, I spent weeks trying to convince myself I did everything right. The guilt was like a weight in my gut, but I pushed it down, told myself it was just a job gone wrong. Random, like Claire said. I needed that to be true, because if it wasn't, then I failed Mia, and that thought was too heavy to carry. Here's how I tried to lie to myself, and how everyone else made it worse. Back at the agency, they kept me on desk duty, like I was some liability. I'd sit there, filing reports, while my head spun with what-ifs. I kept going over that night. Maybe the crowd was too thick, maybe I missed a signal. But every time I started digging, someone shut me down. Claire called me into her office a week after the attack. "You're overthinking it, Ramsey," she said, leaning back in her chair, eyes like steel. "You took a hit, saved her life. Be grateful and move on." Saved her life? Mia was barely walking, her smile gone. I tried to bring up the SUV, how it felt planned. She cut me off. "Don't start conspiracies. You'll spook the clients." I left her office feeling small, like I was the problem for asking. Derek was no better. I'd catch him at the coffee machine, try to talk about that night. "You're obsessing, man," he'd say, flashing that grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Shit happens. You're not Superman." He'd change the subject, talk about some new client, like Mia was old news. It felt like gaslighting, like they wanted me to doubt my own memory. I started wondering if I was crazy, if I was blowing it out of proportion. But then I'd close my eyes and see Mia's blood, hear her scream. That was real. I couldn't unsee it. The shame was the worst. I'd lie awake at night, replaying it, hating myself for that split-second freeze. I was trained to be a machine, but I'd choked. Survivor's guilt, maybe. Why was she the one hurt, not me? I was supposed to take the hit. I tried calling Lila again, needing someone to hear me. You're beating yourself up over something you couldn't control, she said, her voice tired. She meant well, but it felt like another dismissal. Nobody wanted to hear the truth. I was starting to see something was off about that night. The agency, Derek, maybe even Mia's crew, they were too quick to brush it off. I kept working, took small jobs, but I was a ghost of myself. Every client felt like a reminder of Mia, every crowd a threat. I'd tell myself I was fine, that I'd done my job. But deep down, I knew I was lying. Looking back, I was clinging to denial because the alternative, admitting I'd missed something big, was too much. I wasn't ready to face that I might have been played. I was back on field duty a month after the attack, guarding some hedge fund guy, but my head wasn't in it. Every job felt like a minefield. I'd catch myself staring at faces in crowds, wondering who was watching me back. Then I overheard something that flipped a switch. At a client's penthouse, I was standing post when two of Mia's old crew, those rich kids, showed up as guests. They didn't see me in the corner, but I heard them. She's out of the picture now, one said, laughing. Makes things easier. The other guy smirked, mentioned a name, Vincent, Mia's cousin, who handled her trust fund. My stomach dropped. Were they talking about Mia? I didn't know, but it felt wrong. I started paying attention. Little things I brushed off before stood out. Derek was always on his phone, stepping away for calls he didn't explain. Once I saw him slip a USB drive to one of Mia's friends at a party, quick, like he didn't want anyone to notice. I asked him about it later, casual, like it was no big deal. Just photos, man, he said, but his jaw twitched. I didn't buy it. Then there was Claire. She'd been pushing me to take more jobs, but when I mentioned Mia's case, she got sharp. It's closed, Jack. Focus on the present. Closed? The cops had no leads, no arrests. How was that closed? The stakes were getting higher. I dug a little, checked Mia's socials from my burner phone. Her cousin Vincent was posting about new investments, looking smug. I remembered Mia saying he was pushy about her money. Was he involved? I didn't have proof, just a bad feeling that wouldn't quit. I thought about telling someone, but who? Claire would shut me down. Derek was part of whatever this was. Lila, my sister, was too far removed, and I didn't want to drag her into this mess. I was alone, and it was starting to feel dangerous. Every night I'd lie in bed, heart racing, piecing it together. The attack wasn't random. Someone wanted Mia out of the way, her money, her influence, something. I wasn't acting on it yet. I was too deep in the job, too tangled in the agency's world. But the more I saw, the harder it was to stay quiet. Looking back, I was standing on the edge of something big, something ugly, and I didn't know how to step back, or if I even wanted to. But one night, about 6 months after she got hurt, I came face to face with the truth, and it was uglier than I'd imagined. Here's how it went down, the moment I couldn't look away anymore. I was on a job guarding some tech bro at a private club. It was routine, stand by the door, watch the room, stay sharp. Derek was there, working the same shift. I'd been keeping an eye on him, his shady moves eating at me. That night, he was off, fidgety, checking his phone too much. Around midnight, he slipped out the back exit. I followed, quiet, my gut telling me this was it. He met someone in the alley, a guy I recognized from Mia's crew, one of those slick trust fund types, Ethan. They didn't see me, crouched behind a dumpster, but I heard every word. Vincent's getting impatient, Ethan said, voice low. Mia's still asking questions. You said you'd handle it. Derek muttered something about it being under control, then handed Ethan an envelope. My blood ran cold. Vincent, Mia's cousin. Handle what? I stayed frozen, listening as Ethan said, she's not supposed to be a problem anymore. You fucked up last time. Derek snapped back. I didn't fuck up. The plan was clean. She's alive, isn't she? That's when it hit me like a bullet. Derek was in on the attack. Maybe not the knife, but he knew something. My partner, the guy I trusted with my life, was dirty. I slipped back inside, heart pounding, my mind racing. All those months of doubt, of Claire shutting me down, of feeling crazy, it wasn't just me. The attack on Mia was planned, and Derek was part of it. Maybe Vincent too. I wanted to confront him right there, grab him by the collar and make him talk. But I didn't. I was alone, and this was bigger than me. If Derek was involved, who else was? Claire? The whole agency? I felt like I was drowning, no one to trust. I went home that night, locked my door, checked it twice. I couldn't sleep. Mia's face kept flashing in my head, her scream, her blood. I'd failed her, but not because I was slow. Someone set it up, and I'd been too blind to see it. I thought about calling Lila, but what could she do? I was in too deep, and the stakes were higher than ever. I knew I couldn't stay quiet forever, but right then, I was paralyzed, stuck between fear and the need to do something. Looking back, that was the night I stopped pretending everything was fine. The truth was out, and it was staring me in the face, daring me to act. I couldn't sit on what I'd heard. 3 days after that alley meeting, I made a choice that scared the hell out of me. I went to see Mia. She was living in her family's compound now, barely going out, barely living. The guards at the gate knew me, waved me through without question. That should have been my first red flag, but I was too focused on getting answers. Mia was in the garden, reading, still moving carefully. When she saw me, her face lit up for the first time since the attack. "Jack! I wondered when you'd visit again." She looked fragile, but there was something in her eyes, a sharpness that hadn't been there before. We talked small at first, but I could see she was studying me. Finally, she set down her book and said, "You know something, don't you? About that night?" I told her everything. Derek's meeting, the envelope, Vincent's name. Her face went pale, then hard. "I knew it," she whispered. "Vincent's been pushing to control my trust fund since I turned 21. But I never thought." She trailed off, staring at her hands. Then she looked up at me, and I saw steel in her gaze. "Jack, there's something I need to tell you. I've been getting threats. Text messages, emails. Someone wants me to sign over power of attorney to Vincent. They say next time, they won't miss." My blood turned to ice. Next time. They weren't done with her. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I asked. She laughed, bitter. "Tell who? The police think it was random. My family thinks I'm paranoid. And elite security." She paused, watching my face. "Claire's been pushing my parents to replace you. Says you're too close to the case." That hit me like a punch. Claire wasn't just shutting me down, she was cutting me out entirely. I was the only one asking questions, and that made me dangerous. Mia reached over and grabbed my hand. "Jack, I trust you. You're the only one I trust. Help me figure this out before they try again." Looking at her, seeing that determination mixed with fear, I knew I couldn't walk away. Not anymore. We decided to dig deeper, but we had to be smart about it. Mia had resources I didn't: money, connections, access to information. Over the next week, we met in secret, always different places, always careful. She'd hire me for security consultations, to explain my presence, and we'd piece together the conspiracy that nearly killed her. Vincent was definitely involved, but he wasn't smart enough to run this alone. Mia showed me financial records she'd pulled, money moving through shell companies, payments to offshore accounts. One name kept coming up: Marcus Webb, Vincent's business partner, and someone with ties to elite security. Claire's name was on some of the paperwork as a consultant. My stomach dropped. My own boss was part of this. "It's about the trust fund," Mia explained, showing me documents on her laptop. "20 million, but I can't touch the principal until I'm 30. Vincent gets a percentage as trustee, but if something happens to me..." She didn't need to finish. Vincent would control everything. The attack wasn't meant to kill her, it was meant to traumatize her enough to sign over control. When that didn't work, they escalated to threats. But the worst part was Derek. Mia had security footage from that night I'd never seen, her own cameras, not the club's. We watched it together, frame by frame. There he was, my partner, talking to one of the attackers 30 minutes before they struck. Not fighting them off, coordinating with them. "He gave them my location," Mia said quietly. "He told them when I'd be outside." I felt sick. Derek had used our friendship, our partnership, to set up his own client. I wanted to go to the police, but Mia stopped me. "We need more proof," she said. "And we need to be careful. If they know we're onto them, they'll either run or..." She didn't say it, but I knew. They'd finish what they started. We were walking a tightrope, and one wrong step would send us both over the edge. The plan was risky, but it was our only shot. Mia would wear a wire and meet with Vincent, try to get him to confess. I'd be back up, hidden nearby, recording everything. If it went wrong, I'd be ready to move. We set it up for a dinner at Vincent's penthouse, public enough that he'd feel safe talking, private enough that we might get something useful. The night of the meet, my nerves were shot. I'd positioned myself across the street with a long-range mic and camera, watching Mia walk into that building like she was walking into a trap. My phone buzzed, Derek, asking where I was. I ignored it. I couldn't trust anyone at the agency anymore, not even to stay quiet. Through the mic, I heard Vincent pour wine, make small talk. Then Mia got to business. I've been thinking about what you said, about signing over power of attorney. Maybe it's time. Vincent's voice changed, got eager. That's smart, Mia. After what happened, you need someone to handle the pressure. But Vincent was careful, too careful. He danced around details, never quite admitting anything. I was starting to think we'd get nothing when Mia played her ace. I just want to make sure we're safe. I'd hate for something like that night to happen again. Vincent went quiet, then said, Don't worry about that. The people involved, they know you're under protection now. As long as you're cooperative. That was it. Not a full confession, but enough to show he knew about the attack. I was recording, getting every word, when I saw movement in the building's lobby. 3 men in suits, moving with purpose toward the elevators. My blood turned cold. I recognized one of them. Derek. I grabbed my phone, speed-dialed Mia's burner. 1 ring, 2. Pick up, I thought. On the 3rd ring, she answered casual, like we'd planned. Oh, hi Jack. Just having dinner with Vincent. Our code, trouble. I heard Vincent in the background. Who's that? Nobody important, Mia said, but I could hear the tension in her voice. I had seconds to decide. Run and leave her, or go in and probably get us both killed. I looked at that building, thought about 3 years of guilt and lies and almost letting the bastards win. There was no choice to make. I went in hard and fast. The building's security was a joke, 1 guard at the desk. Half asleep. I flashed my elite badge, said I was responding to a call, and he waved me through. By the time I reached Vincent's floor, the 3 men were already at his door. Derek was talking to someone through an earpiece, his back to me. I didn't announce myself. I came around the corner and put Derek in a chokehold before he could react. The other 2 turned, reaching for weapons, but I used Derek as a shield. Back off! I shouted. I've got this recorded, and it's already uploaded. A bluff, but they didn't know that. Inside the apartment, I could hear shouting, Vincent's voice, angry, and Mia trying to stay calm. Derek was struggling in my grip, trying to talk. Jack, you don't understand. I tightened my hold. I understand plenty. You sold out Mia. You sold out me. The 2 other guys were circling, looking for an opening. I needed to get inside that apartment. That's when the door opened and Vincent appeared, dragging Mia by the arm. She looked scared but not hurt. Vincent had a gun, holding it loose but ready. Well, he said, seeing the standoff in his hallway. Jack Ramsey, the failed bodyguard. Derek said you might be a problem. Let her go, I said, still holding Derek. This is about money, not her life. Vincent laughed. It's about $20 million, Jack. And yes, it's worth her life if that's what it takes. He raised the gun toward Mia, and I saw red. I shoved Derek into one of his partners and lunged forward. Vincent swung the gun toward me, and I heard Mia scream. The shot was deafening in the hallway, but I felt no pain. I tackled Vincent, and we went down hard, the gun skittering across the floor. Mia dove for it while I wrestled with Vincent, who was stronger than he looked. Derek was back on his feet, pulling his own weapon, when the elevator dinged. 3 cops stepped out, weapons drawn. Police! Everyone on the ground! I looked up, confused, as they swarmed the hallway. One of them helped me up, and I recognized him, Detective Martinez, who'd worked Mia's case. How did you? I started. Martinez smiled grimly. Miss Thornton called us 20 minutes ago. Said she had evidence of a conspiracy. He nodded toward Mia, who was holding up her phone, still recording. Smart girl. We heard everything. The aftermath was a blur of statements, arrests, and finally, the truth coming out. Vincent got 20 years for conspiracy and attempted murder. Derek got 15, along with Webb and 2 others from Elite Security. Claire tried to claim she was just following orders, but the financial records told a different story. She got 10 years. Mia and I sat in a coffee shop 3 weeks later, both of us still processing everything. She looked healthier, stronger, like a weight had been lifted. "Thank you," she said simply. "For not giving up. For believing me." I stirred my coffee, still not sure I'd done enough. "I should have seen it sooner. Should have protected you better that first night." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Jack, you saved my life twice. Once that night, even though you don't think so. And again when you chose to trust me instead of the system." She was right, but it was hard to accept. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now I live," she said, smiling for the first time in months. "Really live, not just survive. And you?" I'd been thinking about that. Elite Security was finished, at least for me. I'd started my own firm, small but clean. "I'm going to keep doing what I do best," I said. "But this time, I'll trust my gut." As we walked out of that coffee shop, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years: peace. The guilt wasn't gone, might never be completely gone, but it wasn't eating me alive anymore. I'd learned the hard way that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who'll hurt you worst. But I'd also learned that when it matters, when someone's life is on the line, you don't quit. You don't walk away. You fight for what's right, even when, especially when, everyone else tells you to let it go. Mia was safe. The truth was out. And for the first time since that bloody night 3 years ago, I could sleep without seeing her face in my dreams. It wasn't the ending I'd expected, but it was the one we both needed. The job wasn't just about protection anymore, it was about justice. And that was something I could live with. 3 months later, I got a call from my sister Lila. "Saw the news about your case," she said. "I'm proud of you, Jack. For not giving up." I smiled, standing in my new office, looking at the fresh start spread out before me. "Thanks, Lila. Want to grab dinner this week?" "I'd like that," she said. "It's been too long." It had been. But I was ready to fix that now, ready to fix a lot of things. The past would always be there, but it didn't have to define what came next. I was Jack Ramsey, bodyguard, protector, and finally, I was okay with who that made me.